างทีการได้ฟังเรื่องราวของพุทธศาสนานะครับจากปากของฝรั่งเนี่ยก็ทำให้เราได้เห็นแง่มุมบางอย่างที่ไม่เคยมองแล้วก็ได้เข้าใจบางจุดที่เคยไม่เข้าใจมาก่อนได้อย่างลึกซึ้งขึ้นอย่างไม่น่าเชื่อเหมือนกันนะฮะพื้นที่ชีวิตในตอนนี้เนี่ยก็มีโอกาสได้เดินทางไปคุยกับนักจิตวิทยานะครับแล้วก็เป็นนักปฏิบัติธรรมด้วยนะฮะรวมถึงเป็นผู้เขียนหนังสือชื่อดังนะครับหนังสือของเขาเนี่ยขายดีมาก2 เล่มนะครับก็คือ Buddha's Brain นะครับแล้วก็ Just One Thing ซึ่งก็ทำให้เกิดกระแสความสนใจพุทธในโลกตะวันตกอย่างกว้างขวางเลยทีเดียวนะฮะคนนี้ที่เราไปคุยด้วยนี่ก็คือคุณ Rick Hanson นะฮะพวกเราก็เลยเดินทางไปที่ซานราฟาเอลนะครับซึ่งเป็นที่ตั้งออฟฟิศเขานะฮะอยู่ห่างจากเมืองซานฟรานซิสโกเนี่ยออกไปประมาณครึ่งชั่วโมงเท่านั้นเองนะฮะก็ตอนที่ติดต่อคุณริกไปเนี่ยเขาก็ดีใจแล้วก็ตื่นเต้นมากนะครับเขาก็ตอบรับทันทีเลยบอกว่ายินดีแล้วก็อยากจะพูดเรื่องนี้ให้กับสื่อประเทศไทยฟัง
I started out in 1974 as a young man. I first read the Dharma and also other Eastern philosophy and religion. And as a very ordinary American from a completely ordinary, not very religious background, I was immediately struck by the power of the truth in that way of looking at things. In other words, the truth that everything changes, everything is connected to everything else. And if you live in harmony with those truths, you're happy and you do not harm other people or yourself.
Do you do the meditation every day?
Yeah. Well, I originally learned Zen, a little Zen. And then more and more I learned Vipassana style, following the breath. And then I went into the Satipatthana Sutta and used that a lot. And I was taught mainly in the Theravadan tradition in the West. But my teachers had people like Ajahn Chah or Mahasi Sayadaw, U Tejaniya, he's a Burmese teacher, but many Thai teachers.
จุดเด่นของหนังสือของคุณริกเนี่ยคือนอกจากตัวเขาเองเนี่ยจะเป็นนักจิตวิทยาแล้วเนี่ยเขาก็ยังมีเพื่อนสนิทนะฮะเป็นนักวิทยาศาสตร์ที่มีความชำนาญเรื่องของระบบประสาทแล้วก็สมองนะฮะซึ่งพอเขาทั้งคู่มาเขียนหนังสือรวมกันเนี่ยก็ทำให้เขาสามารถอธิบายพุทธออกมาได้อย่างเป็นวิทยาศาสตร์อย่างน่าสนใจเลยทีเดียวแล้วก็นี่เป็นสิ่งที่เรากำลังจะได้รับฟังถัดจากนี้ครับ
The brain is the most complex object in the entire universe that science knows about. It is so complex. It has 500 trillion synapses. And those synapses are active usually around 5 to 50 times a second. Oh my goodness. So much is going on. And we sit here today benefiting from 3.5 billion years of evolution, 600 million years of evolution of the nervous system, benefiting from countless trillions of creatures whose deaths enabled tiny, tiny little benefits to gradually accumulate in DNA to become ultimately the build-out instructions for the human brain. We stand atop a Mount Everest-sized pile of corpses of previous creatures who gave their lives so we could have an ordinary human brain today to watch television, read a book, laugh with our friends, listen to music, ride a motorcycle, flip a switch and have electric light come on. Wow. And to have a brain that can enjoy the Dharma worldwide now. Just like that. You go on your computer or get your smartphone and look at it, you can get Dharma from any corner of the world. How fantastic.
And I heard that you studied about neurology and psychology. What made you choose this subject to study?
The Buddha, as you know, taught that suffering arises due to causes and it passes away due to causes. So the question then becomes, where are those causes to be found? Some of those causes are found out there in the world, in bad governments or bad businesses or other people. Some of the causes are found in biology, in our physical health. Most of the causes, I think, are found in the mind. So I got very interested in psychology and neurology because those are the two sciences that really talk about the mind. Psychology, of course, talks about the mind, but more and more, especially the last 20 years, neuroscience is starting to tell us a lot about the underlying, the underneath neural activities, the brain processes that underlie mental processes. So if you understand more and more what's actually happening in the brain that is leading either to suffering or to the end of suffering, then with some skillfulness, using skillful means, upaya, you can go into the brain and gradually change it over time for the better. And that seemed to me to be a wonderful combination of the Dharma, Western psychology, or psychology generally, really including obviously those who have contributed so much to it from Asia, and also neuroscience. Science about the brain has doubled in just the last 20 years. There's been a tremendous explosion of knowledge about the brain.
The basic question, what is the mind?
Well, that is a huge question, and it has to do with what we mean by the word, okay? And the way that neuroscience people use the word mind or mental, it's to refer to information, okay? So, to use an example, think of a page of a book. The paper of the page and the physical marks on the page that are the letters and the words and the sentences, those are physical. Those are material. But they represent information, meanings, ideas, instructions, how to do things. They represent information. Can you weigh information? Can you touch it? It's not physical. Information is immaterial, but it is always represented, at least down here on Earth. It's always represented by something physical. In the same way, the physical nervous system represents information. It stores information, it records information, it operates on information, it communicates information, and its information includes instructions, like how to reach for a cup. That's information. Think of a baby, a new baby. That baby has to learn so many things. How does the baby learn? The baby learns by changing the brain. So I use the word mind, like neuroscientists generally do, as to mean all of the information in the nervous system. Now, most of that information is unconscious. We are only aware of a tiny fraction, the tip of the iceberg, really, of all the information in the nervous system. There's a kind of architecture. Layers and layers and layers and layers are built up to form the information that we're aware of, which is, you know, the six sense doors, really, the sights we see, sounds, tastes, touches, smells, and thoughts. That is a small fraction of all the information in the nervous system. Now, how neural activity becomes conscious experience is still a profound mystery. No scientist knows the answer to that question. How does the movement of the nervous system become the color red, or the smell of a rose, or our love for our children? No one knows the exact answer. But it is very, very clear that mental activity, including conscious mental activity, for humans and for animals, as our thoughts change, as our memories change, as we hear a sound or see a sight or worry about something or are happy about something, as all that happens, as the mind changes, so does underlying the neural activity changes. Okay? There's still a kind of gap. How does neural activity become conscious experience? But the co-arising, the correlating, is not at all in doubt. It's very, 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 very clear. As the mind changes, as we think about different things, as we rest our attention on good things, as we practice metta, let's say, as the mind changes, well, correlating with it, the nervous system must also change. And here's the thing. Neural activity changes neural structure. As different neurons fire, they start connecting together. And therefore, we can use the mind to gradually change the brain. Because as we change our mind, we change the brain temporarily. But those temporary changes leave lasting structural traces behind. And that is a very exciting and interesting thing.
ประเด็นหนึ่งที่น่าสนใจมากเลยครับก็คือว่าคุณริกเนี่ยบอกว่าโครงสร้างของสมองของเราเนี่ยมันเกิดขึ้นแล้วก็ก่อรูปขึ้นจากพฤติกรรมแล้วก็ความคิดของเราในชีวิตประจำวัน เพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยถ้าเกิดว่าเราสามารถมีรูปแบบชีวิตหรือความคิดที่มีความสุขแล้วก็มีความสงบอยู่บ่อยๆเนี่ยมันก็จะสร้างสมองที่สามารถมีความสุขแล้วก็ความสงบขึ้นมาได้เหมือนกัน
And then the brain can change.
Oh, dramatically. And there's much research, you know, in my writings and other people too. You can see pictures even of the brain changing. When people, for example, meditate or tune into their bodies or practice loving kindness or focus on the positive, all of those things change the brain. If the mind is learning, the brain has to change. How else can learning be established? Whether it's a little child learning to walk, you know, or someone later on in life learning a new language or how to play the piano or something like that, or how to make a new dish, a new kind of food. You have to learn, so something has to change. It's always been understood that something had to change structurally in the brain. But now, what's new is we're starting to understand the many, many ways that can happen, and we're beginning to get pictures, images from MRIs and so forth of how the brain is actually changing. There's a traditional saying, the mind takes the shape of whatever it rests upon. The modern update would be the brain takes its shape from whatever you rest your mind upon. If we rest our mind upon anger or self-criticism, the brain will take a shape of depression, feeling bad, being more and more sensitive and reactive. Or if we rest our mind upon gratitude, the teachings of our teachers, wisdom, love, well, the brain will take a different shape over time. It'll take a better shape. It'll take a shape of growing resilience and strength inside. It'll take a shape of more wisdom and more confidence and more happiness. And that's a good thing. When you know that what you are doing with your mind is actually changing your brain, when you realize that your practice, both formal practice and informal practice, is building and changing neural structure, it supports your conviction, faith in Buddhism, one of the 5 spiritual powers. And it makes you feel like, yes, my practice is really helping me, which it is.
God is the cause of our suffering.
Well, I've actually really tried to think about that, at the level of rupa. Why do we suffer? And I think in our biology, there are some very deep causes of suffering. So I'll say it like this. If you think about it, for life to exist, it has to do three things. Number one, any life, a virus, let alone an elephant or a human being, has to separate itself from the world. There has to be a boundary, a skin boundary, some kind of boundary. In the same with the mind, to make sense of words, we have to separate words. I am saying all these sounds. To make sense of my sounds in any language, we have to separate them into units. We have to create separations, dualities, number one. Number two, we have to stabilize things in a healthy range so that it's stabilized here, not here, and it's stabilized inside this range. It does not go outside this range. And third, it changes slowly or in a gradual way inside this range. The third thing, we have to get good stuff. We have to get the carrots, and we have to avoid the sticks to survive. Here's the problem. Number one, everything is connected to everything else. Anatta, interdependent arising, dependent origination. Everything is connected to everything else. So any kind of fundamental boundary is very hard to sustain. Second, how do we keep things in this safe place when everything is constantly changing? We're always being disturbed. And then third, as the Buddha pointed out, the carrots we want disappear, or we eat the carrot, but then we need another carrot, or we think it'll be a big carrot, and it's actually just a little one, and it doesn't taste very good, it's covered in dirt, right? Or we have to stay away from the sticks, but the divine messengers, old age, disease, death, they all come, as well as other kinds of things. So, and the way that we evolved alarm systems inside the body and then in the nervous system and now very much in the brain. We evolved alarm systems that start ringing the bells, ding, 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 including the bell of pain. Physical and emotional pain is the alarm bell when these three requirements are challenged, when we are not able to be separated, when we are not able to hold things in equilibrium, and when we are not able to get carrots and avoid sticks. Alarm bells ring. But the problem is, those alarm bells keep ringing all the time because we are not truly separated, everything changes, and carrots and sticks have many limitations. So that's, for me, has created the inherent dukkha. That's why dukkha is inherent in life. That does not mean that all of life is dukkha, all of experience is dukkha. It means, the Buddha never said, there is only dukkha. He just said, there is a truth that is dukkha, and we need to face that truth. And so there is an inevitable, unavoidable dukkha in life. And I think that's what he meant by the first dart, in his famous analogy of the first dart compared to the second and third dart.
ในสมัยโบราณเนี่ยสมัยที่บรรพบุรุษของเรายังใช้ชีวิตอยู่ในป่านะครับก็มีความสามารถ2ชนิดที่จำเป็นกับการดำรงชีวิตในยุคนั้นมากๆนะฮะก็คือว่าการจดจำเหตุการณ์ในอดีตที่ผ่านมาแล้วก็การคาดการณ์เหตุการณ์ที่จะเกิดขึ้นในอนาคตนะครับเพราะว่าสภาพชีวิตในป่าเนี่ยมันเต็มไปด้วยอันตรายถ้าเกิดว่าเราไม่เป็นผู้ล่าเนี่ยเราก็จะตกเป็นฝ่ายถูกล่าซะเองนะฮะซึ่งในสภาพชีวิตแบบนั้นเนี่ย ความสามารถ2แบบนั้นเนี่ยสำคัญมากๆในการที่จะใช้ชีวิตแต่ปรากฏว่ามาถึงทุกวันนี้เนี่ยความสามารถ2ประการนั้นเนี่ยการจดจำอดีตแล้วก็คาดการณ์อนาคตเนี่ยกลับทำให้เราเกิดความทุกข์นั่นก็น่าสนใจเหมือนกันครับว่าทำไมมันถึงเป็นแบบนั้นไปได้
Or does the brain grab the negative better than the positive or something like that?
Oh, for sure. And it's very powerful to appreciate how much the brain and therefore the mind is affected by evolution. In other words, another way of saying this is in the Buddha's time, a common idea then was the idea of nama and rupa. Nama, the world of the mind, experience, consciousness. Rupa being underlying materiality. Okay, this stuff. Okay, the Buddha did not, and the people of his time knew very little about rupa. This was 2,500 years ago. But we have learned a lot in the last 2,500 years about rupa, both in biology and in physics. And now, in the last 20 years, we've learned a lot about rupa in terms of the brain. My question is, since the Buddha studied processes and causes, okay? My question is, what are the causes of the causes? What are the causes in the brain of the causes in the mind that lead to suffering or its end? Which is what the Buddha said he taught, the one thing he taught, suffering and its end, okay? And so, for example, which goes to what you just brought up there, one of the causes in the brain of the causes of suffering in the mind is what scientists call the negativity bias of the brain. Our ancestors had to both get carrots, rewards, and they had to avoid sticks. But here's the difference. If you fail to get a carrot today, you'll have a chance tomorrow. But if you fail to avoid that stick today, no more carrots forever. So we developed a bias, and it shows up in many ways. Just think about a relationship with a friend or a family member. Maybe 10 things happen in a day. Maybe 5 are mildly pleasant, maybe 4 are neutral. 1 is irritating. What's the one you think about at the end of the day? It's the irritating one. Or think about learning. We learn faster from pain than from pleasure. Or think about the ways in which in the memory of the brain, a negative experience is learned immediately. Because if you survive a negative experience in the wild, in evolution, millions of years ago, if you survive the predator or the tree falling or someone attacking you in your group, your monkey band, if you survive, you better remember. The other reason why we suffer, in addition to the first dart, inherent, unavoidable suffering that is our legacy. We cannot avoid it. The second reason we suffer is because we create all these reactions to the first darts, and we get angry and we get sad and we worry too much. And that's another reason why we really, really suffer. So to me, what has been helpful to appreciate here is, number 1, to accept the truth of dukkha, and number 2, to not add second and third and fourth darts as much as I can. First darts are bad enough, Why add third, fourth, and fifth darts too?
In your book, you talk about the dart, the second dart.
Yeah.
Could you explain more about this?
Oh, sure. Well, it's the Buddha's metaphor. Inevitably, there are things that hurt us in life, okay? And Mother Nature, we evolved, animals are motivated to get those carrots and avoid those sticks by the fear of pain. So, in a way, survival is accomplished by suffering. It's quite poignant, and it touches my heart, and for me, it helps us, it builds compassion to realize how much suffering is built into life. Okay? So there's this inevitable amount of suffering. That's what the Buddha called the first dart. But then we very often add our reactions to it. And I think, frankly, often we react to what is pleasant. It tastes good, so we want more and more and more. Someone is nice to us, tell me more. You know, we make some money, we want more. You know, that's pretty natural, but still, those are second, third, and fourth, and fifth darts. Equanimity is the Buddha's teachings on equanimity, upekkha, in Pali, are to be able to tolerate the feeding tone, the Vedana, the hedonic tone, to tolerate the hedonic tone of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral without reacting to it. I think of that as a shock absorber, like in a car or a bicycle, a shock absorber. So life gives us pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, but we do not react to it with second, third, and fourth darts. Stuff like that, that if I just stayed with the experience, not brushing it off, not brushing on to the next thing.
จากที่เคยอ่านหนังสือของคุณริกมานะฮะก็สังเกตเห็นว่าเขาพยายามจะบอกเรื่องราวของพุทธศาสนาเนี่ยให้กับชาวตะวันตกได้ทราบโดยที่สามารถทำให้เกิดความเปลี่ยนแปลงขึ้นอย่างรวดเร็วได้ด้วยซ้ำนะฮะแล้วก็พอได้ลองถามเขาว่าถ้าเกิดว่าสัญชาตญาณของเราเนี่ยมันทำให้เราเป็นทุกข์เนี่ยเราจะปรับตัวหรือว่าแก้นิสัยในการที่จะปรับสัญชาตญาณของเราได้ยังไงนะฮะคุณริกก็บอกว่าอาจจะเริ่มต้นขึ้นจากการที่เราหัดซึมซับประสบการณ์ดีๆในชีวิตในแต่ละวันนะครับแล้วก็มีความเมตตาต่อตัวเองให้มากขึ้น
Our negative experiences stick to us, but the positive ones very often just wash off it. That increases our suffering and it makes it harder to do bhavana. Bhavana being the cultivation of wholesome. You know, in wise effort, that element of the Eightfold Path, obviously, as you know, wise effort means reducing what's negative and increasing what's positive. I think of it as pulling weeds or planting flowers, you know, in the garden of the mind and there for the brain. Well, how do we grow those flowers or pull the weeds given the negativity bias? That to me is one really good example where brain science is actually quite helpful. It tells us new things. And as a point, what people can do if they want to grow more flowers is to deliberately, I call it taking the good. In other words, when they're having a simple positive experience, or when they can deliberately create a positive experience, stay with it for 10 or 20 seconds in a row. As simple as that. Not out of grasping or clinging, but rather out of kindness to yourself, because you deserve kindness too. We are supposed to have metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion for all beings. Well, all beings includes you and me. Right? So out of kindness to ourselves, we stay with it, but we also stay with it to bring it in, so that we gradually put these powerful good experiences inside our brain, so that we take them with us wherever we go, so we can draw upon them as resources to help ourselves in ordinary ways in life, and also for spiritual practice, for awakening. And because they're inside us, we don't feel so hungry for them out there. They're in us. So our happiness is increasingly unconditional. It's not based on external conditions. Because increasingly, because we're like making ourselves more and more like a sponge, we absorb the positive experiences, so we take them with us wherever we go. For one, there's of course much research that is not about the brain, it's just psychology, period. That when people do many different kinds of practices, whether it's mindfulness practice or metta practice, or go see a therapist, or read a good book, or to listen to your mother, Do what she says once in a while, at least. Anyway, when people do these things, they learn and grow. So that's always been understood. And people can describe really healing from and reducing negative experiences. Additionally, there is more and more understanding of how that actually can happen in the brain. For example, you can see that people, after taking a class perhaps, or after doing practices, even just 8 weeks of mindfulness training, there's increased activation of the left prefrontal cortex compared to the right prefrontal cortex, which associates with more positive feelings. In part because the left prefrontal cortex puts the brakes on. It dials down, it reduces negative emotions. So you build up the brakes on the negative, like in a car, you have brakes, you stop the bad thing. Well, if you increase that in the brain, you're going to have more happiness. You're going to have more good things. Well, 8 weeks of simple, mindfulness training can create more of that left prefrontal activation, for example. You can also see that simply labeling your experience, like sort of Mahasi style practice, Burmese style practice, noting practices, or even very lightly just noting, afraid, or sad, or angry. Just that alone, studies show, calms down the alarm bell of the brain, which is the amygdala. The amygdala becomes less active when we simply bring words to our own experience. We're not trying to change it, just bringing words to it calms down the alarm bell of the brain. And there are many other examples where people are realizing that mental activity, ranging from formal meditative practice to simply having good conversations with your friends from the heart, will actually change your brain for the better.
It doesn't mean we lie to ourselves, right? Like somebody hit me and I said, oh, that's okay.
Right, no.
It's not like that, right?
No. You're asking to me, you're speaking to a very big question, and maybe I'll say it like this. I think there are 3 great ways to engage the mind. The first great way is to be with what's there and to just be honest about it, to feel the feelings, to open to your experience, to be mindful of, to just simply see it without trying to change it. Just accept it and see it. It is what it is. The second great way, and in Buddhism it's wise effort, as I said, is to let go of what's negative, is to reduce what's negative. And the third great way is to increase what's positive. It's in English, I would call that let be, let go, let in. Or to think of a garden, in the first way we see our garden, we just accept it, it is what it is. Second way we pull the weeds, third way we plant the flowers. All are really important. I think the most important is the first way, because you cannot always pull weeds or plant flowers in the garden of your mind, but you can always see it, you can always be with it. So if someone hurts us, they treat us badly, maybe they're a bad government, or maybe it's a person in our life is doing a bad thing to us or to someone we care about, we can see that, and it's natural to have strong reactions to it. So we see the strong reactions, we see the situation, then we try to let go of what's negative. Maybe we're too angry, even though it's understandable that we're angry, but it does not help. The Buddha said getting angry with others is like throwing hot coals with bare hands. Both people get burned, us and them. We can still be strong without being angry. We can be very firm without being lost in anger, for example. And then in the third step, we try to bring in positive things. We try to awaken in ourselves strength, let's say. We try to awaken in ourselves compassion for the other person who hurt us, even though we think they did a bad thing, maybe. We try to bring up a sense of others who support us. And we try to maybe even also let it sink in when we're all done with this whole situation, let's say. To let it sink in what the lessons of it are. including maybe a good feeling about ourselves, that we were strong when we had to be. All of that for me is okay, and all of that is changing the brain for the better.
พอได้คุยกับคุณริกเนี่ยเมื่อมองในด้านของวิวัฒนาการของมนุษย์หรือมองในเชิงที่เป็นวิทยาศาสตร์มากขึ้นเนี่ยก็เห็นว่าความทุกข์ของคนเราเนี่ยจริงๆแล้วมันเกิดขึ้นจากการที่คนเราเนี่ยพยายามจะฝืนธรรมชาติหลายๆอย่างนะครับแล้วก็นั่นเป็นพื้นฐานของสัญชาตญาณของมนุษย์เลยซึ่งสัญชาตญาณทั้ง3อย่างนี้เนี่ยนำมาซึ่งความทุกข์ของเราซึ่งสัญชาตญาณที่ขัดแย้งกับความจริงของธรรมชาติทั้ง3เรื่องหลักๆเนี่ยก็คือเรื่องที่1นะฮะการแยกตัวตนของเราออกจากธรรมชาติเรื่องที่2ก็คือการพยายามรักษาสภาวะที่เอื้อต่อการดำรงชีวิตให้คงอยู่ตลอดไปและเรื่องที่3ก็คือการพยายามแสวงหาความสุขและหลีกเลี่ยงความทุกข์ทั้งที่2สิ่งนี้ก็เป็นเรื่องปกติสำหรับทุกๆชีวิตนะฮะซึ่งคุณริกก็บอกว่าการขุดรากถอนโคนเอาสัญชาตญาณแห่งความทุกข์ทั้งหลายเนี่ยออกไปเนี่ยมีหนทางเดียวเท่านั้นนะครับก็คือตามที่พุทธศาสนาได้บอกไว้ก็คือทางแห่งศีลสมาธิแล้วก็ปัญญา
Then, starting around 10, 15 years ago, I began getting more and more interested in the brain because more and more knowledge was available. And then I began to use brain science both for my own practice and as a therapist and a teacher and a writer. For example, a small example, to steady the mind, even all the way into concentration, like the jhanas, is not natural. The brain did not evolve to be steady. Animals that were totally steady, chomp, they got eaten because they were not looking around.
Yeah.
It's normal to look around, to be distractible. Monkey mind is the natural mind. So how do we help the brain really focus on something? And so I tried to learn how does the brain focus, and I learned some things from my own practice. For example, it's very important to feel safe. If you feel at all anxious, your brain really looks around for a threat. So helping yourself feel very safe and very protected is an important foundation for steadiness of mind. Another foundation is to feel cared about. Because when we feel cared about, that helps us feel safe, and it also helps us feel good, which also steadies the mind. Because when we feel upset about something, naturally, because of stress, chemistry, and etc., the mind goes all over the place. But when we feel basically happy, we can concentrate on just one thing, because in part has to do with dopamine and the way that dopamine as a neurotransmitter works as a kind of gate. In other words, when there is steady dopamine, which means a sense of reward, and especially high levels of dopamine, we're able to really concentrate on our own object of attention. Maybe the breath, maybe a metta phrase, maybe a sense of our teacher. We're much more able to concentrate when we have some sense of well-being. So those would be some examples of little methods that I used to help steady my own mind and use the neuroscience. The last thing I'll just say really fast is that the teachings of anatta, emptiness, when you start to understand how many neural coalitions, groups of synapses form under a thought. If we have a thought, let's say a sound, or we remember something, or we have an idea about something, as that thought appears, that really means that tens of millions, probably, about, of synapses are organizing together like a river. A river is streaming, and then a whirlpool starts to form, or a little eddy in the stream. It organizes itself. It is stable for only a few seconds, and then it goes out again. When you start to realize that in the neural substrates, the neural underpinnings of consciousness, of awareness, that there are all these little whirlpools, all these little eddies that underlie a single thought, and they overlap each other. You know, like in a busy river, maybe multiple rivers coming together, you have all these little whirlpools, they overlap each other, and they are gone in a few seconds. That's emptiness, in a sense. And when you understand that, and you can also observe it more and more, you can watch a thought coming into being, stabilize, and then pass away again. More and more, you cannot take it seriously. You have more and more, you go to disenchantment, nibbida, you know, in Pali, a sense of disenchantment of it's not fit for craving. It's not a basis for true happiness, and that really supports your vipassana, your insight, when you understand more and more how the brain makes the mind.
How can science help teach the people more on Dharma?
Very interesting. Well, one, when people understand that what the Buddha was teaching is really true in the brain, that supports conviction. And when people have conviction, they're more motivated. What was the second of the Eightfold Path? Right intention, motivation, purpose, direction. Well, it really helps to have some conviction that the teachings are true and that practice works. Practice bears fruit. Practice changes the brain. You know, when we have that deep inside ourselves, we are much more willing to practice. That's the big issue in practice. It's motivation. It's practicing every day, not just formal meditation, you know, but making it part of our life where it's difficult, which is with relationships in most cases. Well, how do we motivate ourselves to practice every day? That's where understanding can really come in. I think there are four great benefits, actually, I'll say it this way, of brain science for the Dharma, for Dharma practice. And I've said one so far, conviction or motivation or faith, which is one of the 5 spiritual powers in Buddhism. The second is that it gives us a common framework. Right now, there are many schools of Buddhism, right? Even in the Theravadan tradition, we have Burmese practice, Thai practice, variations. We have Tibetan, we have Zen, we have Pure Land, Chan. More and more we have Western style, American, European style practice. There are many people in Buddhism will talk about different things, the right way, the wrong way. They'll argue with each other. All these bhikkhus, they'll argue with each other, the right way, you know? What is the right way? Well, at the end of the day, we only have one brain. There's only one brain. It's a human brain. We don't have a Burmese brain or a Thai brain or a Tibetan brain or a Japanese Zen brain or an American brain. There's just one human brain, you know? And by understanding more of how the one human brain works, we can find common ground across the different branches of Buddhism. The third benefit is that I think knowing more about the brain can point out what kinds of practice are most beneficial. This is not inventing a new method. Very often when you understand the brain, you find yourself realizing, oh, I should practice this way. And then you practice that way. And then you read a book, and some teacher 1,000 years ago is saying, do that. Well, okay, but it confirms what really matters. I think, for example, one thing that really matters in practice, just as you said, is to bring it into the body. There's been a growing understanding in brain science of how most of the brain is not about words. We're doing words here, but if you think of the brain, it's about 1,300 cubic centimeters, about 1.25 liters of volume. The volume of the brain devoted to language processing is about the width of 2 fingers. Think about this. This much compared to 1.25 liters. The rest is nonverbal processing. So brain science has really helped us appreciate, I think, how important it is to bring into the body. Another is how important emotion is, the heart, feeling. Not just as you say, not just dry intellectual understanding, but to bring it into love. The Buddha really emphasized the importance of love. Much of that teaching has been not really understood, but he talked about love as a sufficient path to awakening if it was really, really developed. So I think that's another example. And then I think there are other ways that you realize that if you can do practices based on how the brain works, you can enhance traditional practice. So that's a third benefit. And then once in a while, I think that modern neuroscience is teaching new methods. I think that, honestly, a method I've developed about taking in the good, that respects the negativity bias of the brain, that understands how bad the brain is at learning from positive experiences while being, unfortunately, too good at learning from negative experiences, you know. When you appreciate that, you really realize that for bhavana, for that aspect of right effort, the cultivation of the wholesome, it's really important to help your brain absorb these positive experiences by staying with them 10 or 20 seconds in a row. That's an example of, I think, a new method that brain science has suggested. And another example is neurofeedback, these brainwave machines that people are just beginning to use. I know many people who have had their meditation really improved by a little use of these brainwave devices that then they, like a raft, once they learn how to do it, then they get rid of the device. So those for me are the 4 benefits of neuroscience applied to the Dharma. So for me, maybe this is a good way to summarize and finish up. I have 2 fundamental experiences from all this. One is a great sense of gratitude. Thank you, nature. Thank you, Buddha, for explaining how nature works in a way that is completely consistent with what modern science shows. Thank you, brain, for enabling me to be here. Gratitude. Katanyu, you know, in Pali. The other thing, though, the second takeaway for me from all this is honestly a sense of responsibility. We've been each given this incredible gift, the human brain, with all of its potential. What will we do with that gift? Will we indulge our worst parts and go into the red reactive mode of the brain and just keep doing what humans have done throughout history? Or will we be grateful for this gift and then take responsibility for using it well, moving into the responsive mode of the brain, not motivated by hatred, greed, heartache, and delusion, but instead motivated by peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. That's our choice, and it's up to us to make that choice each day.
ตะวันตกเนี่ยมักจะมองว่าเราต้องแก้ที่ข้างนอกแต่ตะวันออกเนี่ยจะมองว่าเราต้องแก้ที่ข้างในใจเราซึ่งก็เหมือนกับคุณริกเหมือนกันที่เขาเป็นคนตะวันตกแต่ว่าเขาก็สนใจแนวคิดของตะวันออกนั่นก็เป็นสิ่งที่น่าคิดว่าเฮ้ยทำไมคนในโลกที่สามารถสร้างเทคโนโลยีขึ้นมาใหม่ๆเนี่ยเพื่อแก้ปัญหาสังคมแก้ปัญหาชีวิตต่างๆนานาเนี่ยเขาถึงมาสนใจที่จิตใจนั่นก็เป็นคำถามที่เราน่าจะคุยกันเหมือนกัน
ก็ถ้าที่ผมคุยกับฝรั่งในการเดินทางนะฮะเขาก็จะรู้สึกว่ามันถึงจุดสุดของมันแล้วการเปลี่ยนข้างนอกเหลือแค่ที่ว่างในการเปลี่ยนข้างในก็ต้องย้อนกลับเข้ามาทำให้ฝรั่งหลายๆคนก็หันหน้าเข้าหาศาสนาพุทธนะฮะทีนี้พอเขามาเป็นฝรั่งแล้วมาอธิบายพุทธให้เราฟังอีกทีนะหลายครั้งพี่คงรู้สึกว่าเข้าใจง่ายแล้วก็ไม่ซับซ้อนไม่เต็มไปด้วยภาษาบาลีหรือว่าจารีตประเพณีต่างๆแต่ว่าพูดถึงเนื้อหาของมันจริงๆทำไมฝรั่งถึงความจริงมันเป็นเรื่องของพวกเราเรื่องของชาวตะวันออกอย่างเราแต่ว่าฝรั่งบางคนกับเข้าใจและอธิบายได้ง่ายกว่าคิดว่าทำไม
คือถ้าเราจะมองกันในภาพใหญ่ๆแน่นอนว่าในรายละเอียดเนี่ยฝรั่งหรือไทยก็มีรายละเอียดไม่เหมือนกันอยู่แล้วแต่ว่าในภาพใหญ่ๆเนี่ยคิดว่าคนฝั่งตะวันตกเป็นนักคิดมากกว่าฝั่งตะวันออกคือถ้าเราจะพูดกันแบบง่ายๆตะวันตกอาจจะใช้ชีวิตด้วยหัวมากกว่าด้วยหัวใจอ่ะเรารู้สึกว่าคนสมมุติคนจีนญี่ปุ่นไทยอินเดียเนี่ยมีความรู้สึกค่อนข้างเยอะเพราะฉะนั้นเวลาคนที่เป็นนักคิดเนี่ยแล้วเขาใช้ความคิดในการอธิบายอะไรก็ตามออกมาเป็นความคิดให้เราคิดตามเนี่ยมันเข้าใจง่ายกว่า
ก็จากประสบการณ์ในการไปเรียนอยู่ในโลกตะวันตกนะฮะก็รู้สึกเช่นเดียวกันว่าฝรั่งเขาเป็นสังคมที่แบบอธิบายทุกอย่างมันต้องมีทฤษฎีทุกอย่างมันต้องมีแบบว่าปัจจัยส่งผลต่างๆกันแล้วพอแบบปัจจัย1 3 4 5เนี่ยมันส่งผลตอบสนองซึ่งกันและกันก็กลายเป็นผลลัพธ์อีกอันนึงไปอะไรเป็นต้นทำให้บางเรื่องอย่างเช่นแบบ การบริโภคสิ่งต่างๆเนี่ยซึ่งเราบริโภคแล้วเราพอใจเราได้ค่าประโยชน์ต่างๆมาเนี่ยเขาก็ต้องไปนั่งคิดทฤษฎีอีกว่ามันได้ค่าประโยชน์ยังไง คือมันทำให้แบบบางครั้งการอธิบายเรื่องง่ายอย่างเช่นเราแบบกินน้ำแล้วรู้สึกอย่างเงี้ย กลายเป็นแบบเส้นกราฟขึ้นมาพอเป็นเส้นกราฟปุ๊บเนี่ยแล้วก็แบบคิดเลขออกแต่ว่าเวลาเรากินน้ำเราก็ไม่ได้รู้สึกเหมือนกราฟนั้นอยู่ดี
ใช่
ก็เช่นเดียวกันครับเพราะว่าศาสนาพุทธคือกราฟอาจจะสอนให้เราเข้าใจมากขึ้นแต่ว่าไม่ใช่เข้าใจทั้งหมดแล้วอย่าไปติดอยู่กับกราฟนั้นจนมาบอกว่าการกินน้ำมันเป็นกราฟไม่เช่นเดียวกับว่านักวิทยาศาสตร์บางสมองบางคนก็มองว่าความรักเนี่ยคือภาพสแกนของสมอง เวลามันส่องแสงส่งประกายไฟอะไรมาซึ่งมันไม่ใช่มันก็คือความรักในตัวของมันเอง
ซึ่งถ้าเราจะมองว่าโลกมันมีทั้งตะวันตกตะวันออกและใช้ประโยชน์จากมันเนี่ยเริ่มต้นที่เราอยากจะเข้าใจความคิดหรือแนวความคิดของพุทธศาสนาเนี่ยเราอาจจะเริ่มต้นจากการอ่านงานของคุณริกสมมุติว่ามันก็เป็นไปได้แต่สุดท้ายแล้วยังไงเนี่ยความจริงมันก็ต้องปฏิบัติอยู่ดีซึ่งถ้าเราใช้ทั้งสองส่วนผสมกันได้ในสิ่งที่มันสมดุลกันมันก็อาจจะโอเคก็ได้
รายการพื้นที่ชีวิตสัปดาห์นี้ขอเชิญคุณผู้ชมร่วมแสดงความคิดเห็นในหัวข้อประเด็นที่คุณคิดว่าน่าสนใจที่สุดจากการสนทนากับคุณริกแฮนสันคืออะไรเพราะเหตุใดความคิดเห็นที่ได้รับการคัดเลือกจะได้รับหนังสืออยู่ในใจเหนือเกื้อโลกเมกะเทรนด์เมกะธรรมรวบรวมบทความเกี่ยวกับธรรมะของท่านพุทธทาสภิกขุจำนวน10รางวัลส่งความคิดเห็นของคุณมาได้ที่ live@thaipbs.or.th หรือตู้ปน25 บนฝ.ลาดพร้าวกรุงเทพ10310